suppose, classic mixed farming enterprise. We predominantly sheep, and that was a tactical decision that we made, but we crop and we trade cattle, and the mix is set up to minimise our seasonal and production risk. Prior to the 2006 drought, our farming enterprise was very much balanced between sheep and cattle. We ran 2,000 ewes and about 600 cows, and we were very much 50-50, and cropping was only an opportunistic part. We got sort of through the drought and we discovered that actually feeding cattle and the sheer quantity of feed that you've got to get out to them, the sheer quantity of feed that you've got to store is very labour intensive, and we made the decision sort of fairly close to the start of the drought that we were going to take this opportunity to swap out of cattle into sheep. We came out of the drought with 8,000 ewes and a few trade cattle, so we were left with these paddocks that had the potential to be very productive but were probably suboptimal at the time. And so we decided to put those into a cropping rotation. In this part of the world, autumn and winter are our biggest feed gaps, and grazing cereals really fitted nicely into the system as far as filling that feed gap. The yellow sheep flock at the moment is very much focused on wool production. We're sitting somewhere between, well, at the moment we're about 6,000 ewes, and we were at 8,000 ewes. We decided that at the time that was a bit high risk as far as DSE proportions of our overall stocking rate, and if we got a tight autumn, what was the safety valve. So we've dropped back to 6,000 ewes and increased our proportion of wethers. Us personally, where we thought the industry was going, where we thought the farm was most suited, what livestock enterprise was most suited to this part of the world, where our interests lay, where we thought there were the most production gains. So that has been our rationale. I think in the last few years it has proven to be, a very productive and highly profitable enterprise mix. The thought that one chooses something that one enjoys, has some expertise in, and focuses on becoming the best you can at that. We've set up a sort of a hierarchy, a decision hierarchy within the business. So our hierarchy goes from sheep, cropping is second on the list, and cattle they get the bottom billing. In some instances it has allowed us to focus our efforts on improving sheep infrastructure, so it is more efficient without having to share budgets between cattle and sheep enterprises. To also increase that labour efficiency, we have laneways throughout the farm which can handle large mobs of sheep, so mustering all our sheep and sheep moves around the farm is really a one-man job, one man and a good dog. We currently run about 14,000 sheep and trade anywhere between 0 to 1,000 cattle, and depending on what I rank myself as a labour unit, we do that on about 2.5 to 3 full-time labour units. We add to that by using quite a lot of contract labour for spraying in the cropping enterprise, shearing, crutching. We talk a lot and we query a lot of things. We try to be very objective about what decisions we make. To help us with that and get that tightness in the decision making, we've always looked at benchmarking and gathering as much external information as we can. We like sourcing information from primary sources, and another important part of our business structure is we belong to a business coaching group called Edge Network. We also split the management of the enterprises up so that we each have a bit of our own space.
The cropping enterprise is split into two very different halves. We run the main property where the cropping has to coexist with the sheep grazing enterprise, and we have a smaller Billabong Creek farm where the cropping is the main enterprise, and on that farm we don't compromise the cropping for grazing. The Triticale enterprise provides us a good natural hedge for the sheep feed requirements. If we have a failed autumn, we already have that feed. In a normal year where the autumn comes, we sell the stored Triticale grain into the dairy market in the winter. The other part of the cropping enterprise, we use grazing brassica and lucerne as our cropping break crops. Provides the weaner sheep feed that's required in early and midsummer.
The merino sheep, I think, as a unit, they are really, for us, you know, they're the workhorse. They're the, you know, they're very resilient. They still deliver you income in tough years, and they have the potential to improve greatly. For the moment, the wool looks good with a terminal mix, but if we had to move to all terminals or all maternals quickly, you know, you can still do that. We put a lot of effort into genetics, quite a lot of investment and mental effort, and we, you know, done ET programs, and we breed our own rams, and we are very focused on both physical type and objective measurement and EBVs.
We're very fine-tuning the pastures, aren't we? That's the sort of
and the cropping enterprise is now, the rotation is starting to bring in old phalaris paddocks that we think are suboptimal. So strengths, high rainfall, we think, well, I would like to think that the way our two brains work together and the fact that we bring in an external set of minds through the Edge network is a great strength for business longevity and going forward. We include our staff in our business. We try and make them an integral part of decision making. Another strength, I think, for us is that we want to get a system that is fairly stable and really
resilient
fine tune that. Yes, we are always looking at new information that's coming in, and we assess that, but we would like to think going forward that new information coming in is more tweaking the system rather than following new fads.
And that really comes down to identifying that we are entering a drought, or identifying that the winter has failed or the autumn is late.
Or on the counter of that you are moving into a incredibly productive period of time, and this is one of your opportunities to maximise your profit, and that has to be a risk. People always talk about risk as being the disaster, whereas I think there's risks when a business doesn't optimise the big years, because in reality that's where
the money can be
made, or you can recoup your losses from the big downside. So that's a risk, not taking opportunity as well as minimising the downside.